gentleman says that my friends and family say I'm rich. He's 26, making 100,000 a year, living in St. Louis, where rent is 850, but he can't afford to buy a home. And he started trying to get into investing, and because the market's doing what it's doing, he's losing money. And he wants to know, should he hire a financial advisor? But forget that part of it. But I found interesting is that this dude is a six-figure earner at the age of 26, which is amazing, by the way. Right? He can rent. He can afford to rent because it's only $850. But because of home prices, you can't buy a house making six figures.
Damn, yo.
And what's crazy to me about that is, that's kind of where we're headed, like here locally too, right? I know that sounds crazy.
Nuts, man. Like,
can't afford a house.
No matter how much money you make, I ain't gonna say nothing, but like if you're a regular person, if you make regular money, and I'm gonna say regular money is anything less than 400, right? Because that's the 1% line, right? You might struggle to buy a house if you're near a city.
Listen,
it's people I know that make nearly 200K a year, and they struggle to buy houses.
Listen,
making 200K a year.
I know people that make six figures live in New York, and they live in public housing. Here's the thing. First off, what I find interesting about this is that he's doing well. 100K at 26 is amazing. I don't think I was making 100K at 26. I don't know. I don't know, but 100K at the data shows that most people don't make six figures. Let's put it that way. That's the first thing, right? So regardless of what you see online, most people are liars and they're scam artists. They're lying. They don't make that kind of money. But also, the thing is, I know a lot of people who are uber successful, even more successful than me or anybody else, and they didn't really hit that stride till they get into their late 30s or 40s, right?
Yeah.
And I say that because one of the things I see online a lot of times is people feeling bad about themselves because they're in their 20s or early 30s and they're not making, the six figures. And I'm like, yeah, you just work on whatever it is you do. You know what I'm saying? Like, most people don't get that. But now, getting back to this specific story, if you make 100K a year, right? Some of these homes in these cities, if you're talking about specifically the city, not the surrounding counties or anything like that, you're going to have to, get into the $500,000, 400,000, 600,000, sometimes $1 million
to live in certain neighborhoods.
Yeah, I know St. Louis was going crazy because I shot to our brother Jay. He was trying to bust some real estate moves over there and was showing me some stuff. And St. Louis is on a move too in terms of their prices being, shot up within the center city. So it's just crazy because one of the things that I fear, and Don made the point that is going to be crazier for our folks, is that it's getting to the point now where if you haven't, a good salary, the average working American won't be able to buy a home. It's almost like homes are going to be for a certain class of folks. That's not how it's supposed to be.
Home ownership,
that is. Yes. Everybody can rent. But what happens when home ownership is only with a certain class of folks and that class of folks decide we're going to gouge you rent-wise? What you going to do about that?
You stuck.
Let's everybody take to
the that's when eat the rich becomes a reality.
Yeah. So it's in the words of Lance right here, that's nuts, man. Yeah, absolutely. Toya says can't buy a house or can't buy the house TV tells you to buy. I mean, it might be a little bit of that too, but it's getting to the point. Yo, in Philadelphia, if you look at some of the quote unquote worst neighborhoods in Philadelphia as it pertains to crime and all that, the prices of those properties are going up too. So let me see. So let's see what Ring says here. Pulling up more comments. Astronomical housing prices or debt to income ratio with student loan payments. Lorraine, excellent point. Because it's some of that as well. That's why the student loan thing is a true crisis, because even with a high income, if your DTI is kind of insane, you won't be able to purchase a house. I know a lot of people are being affected by that too. And this is what Diamond did about the houses in St. Louis. Dog need to get a condo. That's the new starter home. Yeah, I mean, crazy part about the condo is your price to get in might be a little bit cheaper, but by the time you hit them condo fees on you, I was looking at condos this week with someone, and they was excited. They like, oh, condo it was only 200 racks. Yo, the monthly fees was like 900 a month. I'm like,
Dang.
yo, your condo fees is more than your mortgage.
Dang.
A lot of stuff come with it though. You know, snow removal,
I'm just saying.
clean up, all that kind of stuff. Like they had like some common grounds and all that. But I mean, still, it's still expensive, right? Rents are
900 a month?
Yeah, 900 a month.
That's a whole nother residence.
That's exactly the point. Rents are doubling in my hometown and surrounding areas with all the big biz going to North Carolina. Yeah, rents are doubling. Daniel, what's good, Daniel? Ashley. Yeah, that the income is insane. Yeah, the student loan thing really got to be looked at. Home is a liability unless it's cash flowing asset anyway. Continue to rent until you can buy a multifamily property and have your tenants pay the mortgage. All right, Lorraine, now I see people say that online a lot, and a lot of that comes from the whole rich dad Robert Kiyosaki way of thinking.
It's not all the way true.
And I'm explaining to you why, right? So I have a portfolio of properties, but all of it started from my original purchase of a home to live in. It became basically my bank. And the funny thing is, it's not just my personal experience. I know a lot of folks like, listen, our sister Aisha. Aisha started from buying a crib to live in, and now Aisha got like 50 properties. Because, again, because of the value of land and how land
appreciates
specifically within certain areas, you get that equity. You're able to put the equity to work if you know what you're doing. So I say that to say, I understand that way of looking at it. If it doesn't produce cash, then it's not necessarily an asset.
If it's not a cash flowing thing,
yeah,
but
I kind of disagree with that. But I understand why people say it. But I kind of disagree with that because also
a lot of people can't cash flow their home though. So a lot of people got homes that appreciated a lot and can't even cash flow them because of their credit scores.
Yeah, but outside of that though, another thing about that is if you look at most of the wealth in the country, most of the wealth in this country is through home ownership. Like that's just a factual data point. It's not my opinion. Most of the wealth that's passed from generation to generation is through home ownership, which is why, a lot of times we're behind because we haven't been homeowners that long. But that's how a lot of wealth is created, is through owning homes. And I'm not talking about like secondary residences or investment property. I'm talking
primary
about
residences.
Your primary residence, right? Absolutely. So, but I understand that perspective if it doesn't kick off cash, right? But again, that's the Kiyosaki way of thinking, and I totally get that. But he's also the guy that says that gold is an asset. He's huge on gold. Gold doesn't kick off cash either. So I'm not a fan of Robert Kiyosaki anyway. I think that he's a creep. I like his book. Yeah. I think Rich Dad Poor Dad is
weirdo.
But I don't like him personally. He's but that's either here nor there. That's also why they don't want to forgive student loans. It will help too many black folks. It's funny because I always think about that, right, in terms of student loans, but also like the whole reparations argument. Like, I don't want to sound crazy when I say this, but will it help that many of us? Like, are we prepared to do what's necessary if in fact we get any sort of relief that way? Or will we go ahead and put the money right back into the same folks that gave us the breaks pocket? That's a question. Because I don't know the answer to that. You have to factor in the HOA fees. Yeah,